Okay, I've finished the flat floor pan. Today is a beautiful sunny day, as you can see. I was going to test it, do heat temperature testing, but I decided not to because I want to get on and clean my engine up. As you can see, it's dusty, it's all cracking off, the paint that was put on there, so I'm going to get it powder coated. I'm not going to crackle finish paint it as it should be, because crackle finish, it's a pain to clean anyway, so I'm just going to get it smoothly done in red, maybe a satin finish red, and then it'll be easier to keep clean because I use this car a lot, so I don't want to have a high maintenance job here. I tend to, when I'm taking things off, I tend to mark them with bits of tape. You don't have to write what's on them, but if you mark them, you can instantly see when it's off. Okay, so I've got a vacuum hose here. Sometimes I even tape it to part of the bodywork. So that's the vacuum hose that goes to the ECUs. This bit's going to be like watching paint dry, but at least it's a reference, if nothing else. At some stage I've got to renew these hoses. One could argue that if they're connected to the plenum, they haven't got liquid going through them, so they're not going to take such a hammering. Also, putting the tape on stops the Jubilee clips falling off. And a little baby there. What's that? Look, that's held on a little tiny weeny Jubilee clip. You always find when you do jobs like this, I mean, my intention is just get this powder coated. I'll probably end up doing a lot more. While you're in there, you kind of get carried away, or at least I do anyway. The next thing I want to do is get this throttle body off without disturbing without disturbing it too much. I will have a video that's quite interesting. It's like a funky little thing. It looks like it unscrews. Yeah, it does. Look at that. That's rather nice. I like that. It's got a split pin in, and you just unscrew it to release it. What a lovely little idea. I rather like that. So that's rather nice, and then you put a split pin in to hold it. That's great. It's great, the things that different people come up with. I expect Mario did that one, and his lunch break. So I don't lose it, I just put a little split pin back on there, like that. There we go. So that's there. Technically you shouldn't reuse split pins, but it's hardly a crucial component. So the next thing is I'm just going to undo that little pipe down there. Just so you can see that. And a little vacuum hose under there as well. I'm not cheating, guys. I just don't want to bore you watching things that are pretty obvious. But to get this off, to get this pipe off, you have to undo it from the bottom first and then pull it from the top. Okay, so at least you know that one. I'm going to just put some paper in there to stop anything going in there. So the next thing is to take this off, because it's got a fuel line attached to it. So it's a sensor. I think it's the enrichment injector, but don't quote me on that because I'm not familiar with this system. I've only been working on this car. I've only had this car a year, so there's a lot of things I don't know. All the cars I've ever had have been carburetted. The Aston V8, even the Lamborghini Countach, the Lamborghini Yarima, and all the others, and even my Lotuses are carburetors. So this Bosch K-Jetronic injection system is not something I'm familiar with at all. So I'm kind of learning about it, I suppose, as and when. As you can see, it's an injector, and I'm guessing that when the engine is cold, it gives it a good old squirt into the cylinders until it gets to a certain temperature, I would imagine, and then this little sensor switches it off. So I just pop some tape around it, stop any foreign bodies going down in the tube at all. The injector, I think I'll just put a bit of tape on that as well. Right guys, I've been slowly sort of working my way round and I've been saving the best to last. There's a nut there. I have no idea how I'm going to get that off. I'm going to have to really think about that because the injector and everything's in the way. But oh look, it comes out. Oh, that's a bit worrying, isn't it? Bloody hell. Okay, that's not very good. Sure that's not supposed to do that. Oh, look at that. Good heavens. Well, there you go. It's amazing what you find when you start to fiddle around with things, isn't it? That's rather worrying. Okay, well, we'll come back to that in a minute. A mirror. I've got a mirror, and I'm looking down the back there to see what other nuts need to be undone. It's a great way of doing things. Obviously it's pretty damn obvious, but there you go, I can see quite clearly now. There's one here and there's one there that need undoing, so I shall get in there with the spanner. I've taken my gloves off because you know, sometimes you just can't feel anything when you've got a rubber on. Right guys, I've been round the back there, and try as I might, I cannot get a spanner onto this. So I've got one of my cheap spanners and I'm about to turn a cheap spanner into a hero spanner. Now this wall here is too thick and it will not go up against the plenum chamber. The gap between the plenum chamber and the nut is too narrow, so I'm just going to grind it down until it fits, and that will be my Ferrari plenum chamber removal spanner. Right, let's try that. Oh, there, straight on, look at that. There you go. See, so sometimes you have to make and adapt little tools to suit your needs, and go from there. Isn't it funny what things you discover when you start fiddling around? I mean, I always thought the injectors looked pretty solid, you know. Can't say I've ever gone around wiggling them, but I probably will now. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, using my hero spanner, my little hero spanner, which is looking very thin now, but does the job because the nuts are not very tightly done up. I've now loosened all of this, and I can just lift it off, hopefully. Being careful with the rubber gasket, I don't want to damage that, because I want to reuse it, and obviously make sure that you don't drop anything down the plenum chamber, down the intakes. Okay, well that allows me to get to everything a lot better. And I can hopefully find this bloody water leak, which is coming from around here somewhere, one of these pipes, so I'll have to just undo these pipes, move them out the way, block these with paper, stop anything falling down. Loose injector, that's going to make that cylinder run lean, isn't it? Fortunately it was sealed up, so it's been pushed in, it's, you know, but maybe the spanner near it, wiggling it around a bit, has loosened it and the rubber's perished with time. Look, that, I don't even know if that's standard, look at that, that's some kind of a rubber O-ring on there that doesn't look, it's blue. Here's a little something for you guys to think about when you remove these. There are little spaces here that only allow the gaskets to crush to a certain depth. So when you lift this off, that could fall down your plenum chamber and into your engine. I'm not sure what these are made of, whether they're magnetic, but one hopes they are, because if they were to fall into your engine, and if you had a valve open, would it go in through the valve? Probably wouldn't fall into the engine, because valves don't open as much as that is wide, so I'm sure it would just get jammed. However, you would have to fish it out with a magnet or something, but you want to count them in and count them out, so make sure that you have 8 of them. If you haven't, I would be losing sleep at night until you found it. So just to bear that in mind. The other thing is, you can see here, it's got a little pin, and that locates into the rubber that way, like that, and obviously stops them moving around. Obviously these ones have had it. This one's got a big crack in it, so I'm going to need to get some new intake rubbers. If you try and put these back, you get a cylinder that's running lean, because it's drawing air in and it throws it all out and everything like that. You don't want a cylinder running lean. The same as the air leaking through the injector will do the same. So my 2 loose injectors, to be fair, my injectors were pushed in, so I don't think they were leaking. The other thing is this crackle finish paint. Looks all sexy when it's new, but I'm not going to do that. I like to keep things original, but I'm not, in this case, going to use a crackle finish, because it's a pain to keep clean. Look at it. You know, I want something that wipes off, so I'm going to do mine satin, and I'm going to powder coat it, because powder coating, it sticks like stove paint, you know, on an Arga or something like that. There's no way it's coming off. So yeah, I'm going to go, because I use a car regularly, I'm just going to go for something that's going to look nice and it's going to last. So here having obviously checked that you haven't, for God's sake, don't drop anything down here. If you can, if you have, don't, but if you have, you can get a little magnet and fish it out, but carefully lift the plenum chamber off. When I put my plenum chamber back on, those inserts, I'm going to glue them to the threads, so that if I ever take the plenum chamber off, they are glued to the threads and they cannot fall in, because that's just a really, really dozy way of doing things. It's just asking for trouble. Anyway, that said, bung these up, because you don't want any foreign bodies in there, or any native ones for that matter, and that is that. Anyway, so the next thing is to suss out what's going on with all this pipe work, where it all goes to, and how we can find out where this leak is coming from, this water leak that's in the centre, and the oil leak that's also in the centre. It's actually quite a handsome motor once the big old plenum chamber is off there. You imagine, 8 little gluggers on the top there, lovely. If you had 4 twin choke carbs on there with T-strainers, it would look absolutely fantastic. But very tempting, isn't it? But no, I'll keep it standard. But yes, it is very tempting. I do like carburetors. So I'm going to just remove this breather pipe, which runs through the centre. It basically runs through the centre there. So I'm basically just got to dismantle all of this stuff. Look at these gloves. I've just put those on and they've gone through. I think it'd be better off with washing up gloves. So I'm just going to pull this through like that and gradually strip this down until I can see everything, and start to make some sort of sense of it, really. Just so you know, I'm still marking things up. Vacuum, obviously, to the breather, crankcase breather, I think. Oh no, where's that going? Oh, it's the airbox. Yeah, sorry, from the crankcase. So basically, it's going into the airbox. It's part of the emissions recirculating system. There's 2 pipes here which I pulled off. There's a little tiny sly vacuum pipe which is connected to, looks like it's connected to this unit here, but anyway, I'm going to take the end up. I don't want anything going in there, so I'm just going to take the end across like that, and it's almost like a little flag on it. And I shall do the same with this one, which goes on the plenum, of course, that we took off. So that's that. That was that unit that was screwed to the plenum chamber that had the cold start injector on it. It has a pipe on here, and the Jubilee clip is absolutely had it. I'm pointing to it with my little finger because the camera's in the way. That pipe runs right the way across the engine, and then it runs right the way around the back there. So I'm going to disconnect it just so we can see where that goes. That pipe is coming out from under that unit there, and I'm just going to plug it back in to the cold start unit so I know exactly what it does. So I've just plugged it into that. Obviously it goes over the other side of the engine, and I shall just flag it as well. Obviously going to treat Kato to some new hoses, I think. Right, I found it. That's the water leak anyway. There's an upper pipe here and there's a lower pipe there, and it's the lower one, and what I did is I just put my finger behind it and gave it a sort of wiggle, and my hand came out wet. So there you go, that's where it's been leaking from. Okay, so you have a little pipe here that goes to the header tank. So if we track it all the way through, it goes along there and up to there. So that's that pipe. It goes all the way down. There's my hand on it there. It runs all the way through and goes to there. This is as much a visual reminder to me as an aid to you guys. So I'm going to pull that off, and obviously it's water's going to go everywhere, I should imagine. A little tiny bit. And then you've got the sensor here. Oh god, you know what it's like when we pull things off old sensors, once you disturb them they can start to malfunction. I'm guessing that may be, what is that, a temperature sensor? the engine, you know, for the gauge. I'm guessing, but I don't know. Okay, so the next thing is I will mark those, and then we can go a bit further. I've taken the pipe and the wire together that go on here, and now I'm going to undo this and get this out of the way so I can access the pipe below and also clean it all up, because this corrosion that you get here, this aluminium kind of corrosion oxide, it becomes porous, and water gets past it and then starts to leak. So you've got to get rid of it all, and then you get a good seal again. Right, so this is where you can open up a can of worms if you're not careful. There's a stud that goes into aluminium. It's 30 years old, and it's got hot and cold with water around it and God knows what, and it's rusty. The nut's not going to come off. It's going to take the stud out with it. When it takes the stud out with it, so I can get it on the camera, when it takes the stud out with it, you know, it's going to give the aluminium a bit of grief perhaps. So the trick is, and this is where it's just down to luck really, I put penetrator fluid on it, but that's not going to go into the aluminium. You undo it a bit, feel it tighten up, and then do it up again. Undo it a bit, feel it tighten up, do it up again. And you just keep doing that. I don't know if you can see me doing that. So undo it a few turns until it tightens up, and then do it up again. And that kind of clears the thread. If you try and undo it, you can strip it. That said, you know, I'm being very careful here, but there's no bloody guarantee that I'm not going to strip this out, and then I'm going to get into helicoiling and all sorts of horrible things. Yeah, the stud's coming out, you see. What it looks like. Well, it looks okay. Hard to tell, but you've just got to go careful, you know, otherwise you can, you know, create a whole load of trouble. Okay guys, 3 down, 1 to go. This one is being a swine. It's undoing, and then it's seriously tightening up. So I'm just being patient with it, keep going backwards and forwards. It's definitely the stud that's undoing, so it's not really, I'm not really going to gain anything by you have to try and just give it a little bit more each time and feel it. Don't, again, like I keep going on about it, don't force it, just feel it. It is coming. As you can see, I'm going around more and more times, but you can see how many times I've got to undo it. The thing to do, there you go. Once it's free, it's okay. You have to figure out how much torque would you put into it if you were doing it up. So when you're undoing it, don't give it any more than you would when you were doing it up, if that makes sense. So that way you know you're not going to overstress anything and strip the thread. As it turns out, the nut came off. God, I hate mild steel. Look at that. It just rusts itself to this. Stainless, not a problem. Get stainless on there. That's what I'm going to put back on. Stainless steel, and it won't do this again. Mind you, when did this go on here? 30 years ago, perhaps? Who knows? Maybe it wasn't as long ago as that. Judging by how all the rubbish flies around this engine bay, it was probably only put on 5 years ago. I'm joking. So I suppose the question on everybody's lips is, could I fix that pipe, that water pipe, knowing, you know, which one it was, and not done all of this? Well, the answer is yeah, of course I could. I don't have to take all of this off, but I'm sure once I start removing things, you know, I'm going to find other things that may not be giving trouble now, but in a while, in a bit in the future, in the near future, you know, they're going to catch you with your pants down when you're perhaps on a trip somewhere or something like that. So I'd rather do it now and just get it out of the way. Yeah, the weather's nice, and Em's doing her Fiat, so we're not going anywhere. So now's a chance just to have a little play and kind of enjoy it really. It's quite therapeutic. Some people go do gardening, some people play football. I tinker with engines. So as you can see there, a stud has come out. That's fine, it's not a problem. Had I stripped that thread out, because that thread's old and it's old aluminium. If that had happened, then I would have to helicoil it, which wouldn't be easy because it would all have to come. So then you'd have to take off all the rest of it. If I started undoing all these other bolts that hold the rail in, they could strip, and then you've got to helicoil all those. So you know, if you take too many bits off, you know, it's not ideal. And that's why I don't really want to take the plenums off. I really don't want to. I'm not rebuilding an engine here. I'm just doing a bit of spring cleaning, replacing hoses and things like that. You know, why make work for yourself? All these pipes here and everything, you know, this one here, all of these can be replaced easily. So yeah, I shall do that. I mean, it's not crunchy. That's a way to tell. If you squeeze it and it goes crunchy, then it's had it. But look at that, it's all kind of swollen and stuff like that. It's on its way. Oh look, there you go, cracking it. Yeah, look, it's thinking about letting go. So let's, there you go, I'll hold that to camera. So it's thinking about letting go, so replace it. Okay, I'm going to go for the next layer now. This is the one that was leaking, this one down here. So I'm just going to have a look at this. Okay folks, definitely going to call it night now. It's getting dark. You can see that pipe there, the one that's still left. That one there, that one was the one that was leaking. Okay, how am I going to get that out? Because I got a feeling it's a water pump out thing. Unless I can squish it somehow, you know, slide it that way, squish it, and then ride it up over the top. But anyway, I expect you guys will say you can't take it off unless you take the water pump off, in which case, God, you know, what a pain. I don't really want to take the water pump off. I'm sounding really reluctant here, aren't I? But I was only trying to stop a little leak. But I shall examine the integrity of that pipe. Whoops. I shall examine the integrity of that pipe and decide whether I can just clamp it a little tighter. The Jubilee clip may be loose, I haven't even checked it yet. But anyway, that's all I'm doing for today, folks. So yeah, I kind of like it. It looks nice. Anyway, thanks for watching.